To New Mexico Governor Susana Martinez. Does she represent the Republican Party's future? Now, she is the first female Hispanic governor, and now her name coming up as a possible 2016 presidential candidate. Over the weekend, On the Record went to New Mexico to talk one-on-one with Governor Martinez. But first, she took us to her family's business in El Paso, Texas. Governor, where are we?
We are at the place is now my brother's business, but this was Texas Security Guard Service. This is where my parents started their business back in the late 70s and were in existence for about 25 years.
And this is foreign property, Texas, right?
That's right.
And you're the governor of New Mexico, but they let you come here?
They do. They let me come here.
When your parents started business, how much money is selling this?
I mean, truly, we lived paycheck to paycheck. When they started the business, I thought they were insane. We had no savings to speak of, and they started out with a few security guards. My father was a security guard, I was a security guard, and we had, I think, my mother was the office, worked in the office. At the beginning, she worked out of the kitchen at our house because we didn't have this building. And so I used to work at a Catholic bingo. In the parking lot to make sure no one was breaking into the cars at nighttime. And
I understand you were armed because at the Republican National Convention you spoke a little bit about being armed.
Oh yeah, my dad was a cop beforehand, and so he wanted to make sure I had the proper equipment to be a security guard, so I got certified at 18, and I had a .357 Magnum and had all the uniform, badge, the whole 9 yards, and walked the parking lot.
Was it one of those family businesses where it's just a non-stop sort of family business?
For my mother and father, initially, yes, because my mother didn't give up her day job. My mother continued to work her day job. She was an office assistant, and then at night at home would do the books for this business. So it was constant for her. I went to college at UTEP during the daytime, and then I was a security guard at nighttime. And so my dad, of course, was hustling for the contracts. Any chance he had.
Why do you think someone starts a small business? I mean, why did your father do this? What, did he get sick of being a police officer? I mean, like, why?
He wanted to work for himself. I mean, he wanted to work for himself and be able to make decisions for himself as to how big or small he wanted this business to be. He wanted to be his own boss.
Your brother now has this store,
yes,
though, right?
My brother
so
does.
There's been some modification. In fact, here is your brother, right?
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Right. Was she a good sister or What's the story? What don't we know?
Bossy sister. She always wanted things done her way.
Or no way. Her way.
No way, yeah. And even when she was really young, my grandmother labeled her abogadita, which means the little lawyer, because she could always talk from a very, very young age and make a lot of sense.
But so interesting, I mean, you didn't necessarily get the bug to be a small business owner, but you were involved in the launch of a small business. Seemed to have had an interest in politics, at least starting with student council. You didn't want to be secretary, you wanted to be president of the student council. And you wanted to be a lawyer because you bossed your brother around. Right?
Right.
Why did you become a lawyer?
You know, I actually became a lawyer because I thought you had to be a lawyer in order to get into national politics. I actually wanted to get into politics since probably I was 8th grade freshman. I would watch the debates of senators and congressmen on television. I think I'd like to do that. I think I want to become something like that. And most of them were lawyers, and so I thought I had to be a lawyer. And so I started down that path. When I was a freshman, there were 2 teachers who actually talked, they pulled together some young girls, and we talked about careers. Where do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? What is your plan in life? And I remember thinking, well, I think I want to be a mayor of a city, because I didn't really have a role model beyond that. And so, and they said, well, why just a mayor? Why would you stop there? And I said, well, you know, here in El Paso, you didn't see. I just didn't see anyone at a higher level in government. And they said, well, why not, you know, think about being a governor or think about being something else? And that was the first time I really thought, I can. I don't have to limit myself.
And back in New Mexico, Governor Martinez takes us to the place where in 2009 first announced her run for governor. All right, this is a restaurant where you made your announcement for governor?
It is.
Man who owns it's a Democrat.
It is.
You're a Republican.
Yep.
Okay, well, so how did that happen? That doesn't quite sound, there's something there.
You know, we became friends throughout the years, and I was district attorney. I ran for district attorney. He was very supportive financially, providing food for all my events. And I considered him a friend, and I wanted to also earn the respect and the vote of Democrats. And so I thought this was a perfect place to start to build that bipartisan relationship I wanted if I ever became governor.
There's a law here, as I understand it, that you can be here in this state illegally, in this country illegally, and you can still get a driver's license, but you want to change that.
Yes.
Why?
Well, because New Mexicans want to change it, number one.
Why?
72% want to change it because the law was first passed because they wanted to increase the number of insured drivers. It did nothing for that. We are at the bottom of the country as far as insured drivers.
And what year is that about?
2005.
Okay.
And so what it did was now brought in a criminal industry into New Mexico, organized crime. People who are charging $2,000 to $5,000 to be provided with illegal documents, fraudulent documents claiming you're a resident when you're not, with a contract for an apartment complex, utilities, bank records, etc. We don't even know if your real name is on those documents. Go into MVD, get a driver's license, and leave. Then you can exchange that driver's license for any other state, and then you're under the radar. We don't know who you are. And the law intended was for someone who lived in New Mexico. And now we have people from all over the world who are here illegally, who are paying to get that New Mexico driver's license.
And straight ahead, more with Governor Susana Martinez. Is she planning to make a run for the White House in 2016? She answers that question next. Just back from New Mexico, and now more with the state's Republican governor, Susana Martinez. Senator Harry Reid said in 2010, when you were running, his son was also running for governor in Nevada, he says, "I don't know how anyone of Hispanic heritage could be a Republican."
Well, I find that disappointing that anyone would think that we're not independent thinkers. I am an independent thinker. I am a woman. I am a Republican. And I think for myself, and I decide where I vote and how I vote, and to make a statement like that is to assume that we are not independent thinkers, and we are.
You had a pretty highly contested primary for governor. Governor Sarah Palin came out and supported you, right?
Yes, she did.
What do you think about the way Governor Palin is, about her political career and how the public have responded to her and the media?
Well, I think certainly she is someone that has made a difference in the Republican Party and the Tea Party. She has caused a lot of interest to come about in reference to the issues. She speaks a lot about the different issues and how strong she feels about them. I was pleased for her to come and support me. I think it made a difference. But I also think that she is still very available to give her opinion in reference to politics and where America is going, and whether we're on the right track or not. And I think she's certainly free to do that. I was pleased to receive her endorsement.
When you became governor, you inherited a deficit, right? What was this? Do you remember exactly what the deficit was?
Yes. Well, the day before the election, the general election, it was $250 million.
Million?
Mm-hmm. And keep in mind, the state budget is only $5.6 billion. So the day before the general election, we were having it reported as $250 million. The day after the election, it became $450 million.
What happened in the 24 hours or 48, whatever it is?
Well, certainly the administration that was in place was not being truthful with the public. And so the day after, I certainly was informed that the deficit was then.
How does that happen? I mean, weren't the figures public, and didn't? I mean, I assume that people were reporting on Governor Richardson as a steward of the economy here.
No, that was not what was happening. What was coming out of the governor's office were figures that were not being honest with the people.
So you must have just about fallen over when you saw the number jump in the period of 24 or 48 hours.
Absolutely. And it was a number that I knew we had to deal with. I knew we had to deal with $250 million. I said, well, then we're just going to have to do what the rest of the New Mexicans are doing, which is tighten our belts and figure out how we're going to solve this problem. Because when I was running for office, I was committed to not raising taxes. I was going to balance the budget, and I was going to make sure that we were not going to raise taxes so that we can really continue to be competitive in bringing businesses to New Mexico, grow our economy so that that deficit will never come back again.
All right, well, a faster way to get money is to cut spending or eliminate waste than it is to grow the economy. Grow the economy takes a little bit of time. So I take it that it was expense cutting, or because you went to a you balanced your budget.
I did. I presented a budget, and the governor is expected to present a budget. And in that budget, my budget actually increased spending in Medicaid and in education, my proposed budget. But also trimmed back, for example, I trimmed back on the number of exempt employees.
What does that mean, exempt employees?
Exempt employees, people who answer just to the governor, versus classified employees who you have to you can only get rid of an employee for cause.
So it's basically civil service versus appointment.
Appointments, exactly. And Governor Richardson had grown the number of exempt employees by over 340. I have it down to, I think, 212 at this time. I got rid of the 2 chefs that were assigned to the residents. We sold the jet that Richardson had purchased. We sold the jet in addition to 4 other planes. We cut the exempt employees. No one was going to earn more than $125,000 for cabinet secretaries, and we were going to cut back on salary significantly. I mean, we went through the budget tooth and nail, from cell phones and take-home cars, and I put a moratorium on the purchase of brand new cars for 2 years. I mean, we went through it in a way that had never been done before. We balanced it, and we got a surplus.
The method that you employed in your Democratic House and Senate, do you see that that would be an effective way on the national level, or is the federal government so vastly different that, you know, because your remedies seem quite straightforward and simple, but would they translate on a national level?
Well, certainly cutting spending is one of the things that can transcend to the federal government. I mean, I think the federal government has grown by leaps and bounds, and they need to look, where do they need to cut? And I'm not sure that I think Washington is at such a gridlock that they're not willing to even really look at where is the excess, where do we cut? And it can't be across the board.
So I take it from that you're opposed to just letting us go off the fiscal cliff, because that does take a cut straight across the board.
It does. It takes us, makes those cuts across the board. New Mexico will actually feel an enormous impact. Unfortunately, New Mexico depends significantly on the federal dollars. We have 4 military bases here in New Mexico. We have 2 national labs that are very important to our national defense. And so we could possibly lose 20,000 jobs.
Healthcare exchanges, you're setting them up. Some Republican governors are not. Why did you decide to set them up?
Well, we're moving in that direction, but we're also still negotiating with the federal, and we're negotiating for flexibility. We're negotiating for what is best for New Mexicans instead of the one-size-fits-all that's coming from Washington, D.C. Where can we be flexible that best serves New Mexicans? And we've asked many questions of the President, and we are hoping for answers. It's been several months that we have been asking these questions and haven't received responses. But if at the end of the day the responses are not what benefit New Mexicans, we can still always go and allow the federal government to push forward those exchanges.
It's no secret that there are a lot of eyes on you on 2016. You're a woman, you're a governor, you're Hispanic. Any thoughts on running for president in 2016?
No thoughts on that. I am running for re-election for the governor of New Mexico. I want to make sure that I fulfill the promises that I made to New Mexicans. That's extremely important to me.
And before leaving New Mexico, we also got to meet the governor's very sweet sister, Letty Martinez. How's your sister doing as governor?
Very good.
Very good?
Yes.
Like, tell me more.
She's the greatest sister I never had.
She's a good sister. She loves you.
Yeah. Everybody does.
Anyway, thank you very much. Do you watch us on TV?
Yes.
Okay, you're going to keep watching us, right?
Yes.
Do you remember her? Remember watching her on television?
Yes.
Tell her about your birthday party at the governor's house.
Oh, yes, I had a birthday party.
Really?
At the governor's house.
Was it fun?
Yeah.
Is it a nice house?
Yeah.
Were the dogs there?
Yeah.
All right, how old were you? Do you remember?
How old did you become? What was your birthday?
5.
5'5", whoa. You don't look 5'5". Happy birthday. Governor is the guardian for her disabled sister who you just met. And there's much more of our interview with Governor Susana Martinez. Just go to GretaWire.com. And up next, Senator Lindsey Graham. He says yes.